Okay, so lesson 2 for Spanish is the Futuro Uno's tense. So the first thing you need to realize is that depending on when things happen, we use different tenses or different ways of speaking. So if we have our timeline, we have the present here. We have the future, and we have the past. Now, there's actually lots of different ways of talking in the present, future, and past. There are 2 ways of talking in the present, either in your regular present tense or in your present progressive tense. You have 2 ways of talking in the future, saying, for example, I'm going to do something, or I will do something. This one is a little bit further ahead in terms of time. It's also a little bit more definite. Going to is more of a closer future tense. Like, I'm going to unload the dishwasher today at some point. In the past, there are actually 10 different ways of talking in the past, but you don't learn that until Spanish 20. So we really don't need to worry about this. Learning how to speak in the past is Spanish 20. Okay? So, last lesson, we learned how to do the regular present tense. Later on in the year, we are going to do the present progressive and will. So for right now, we're just going to focus on going to. And I'm going to do something is kind of here. And to keep it clear, because both tenses are future tense, I do like to call it the Futuro Uno, just to keep it separate. It used to be called the Futuro Uno in Spanish. Then they just changed it to Futuro. But this one is also Futuro, so it becomes really confusing. So instead, I like to keep the old name of Futuro Uno and Futuro. And that way, everyone knows what we're talking about. So, Futuro Uno is saying, I am going to do something. So in English, we see the following. I am going to walk my dog. I am going to talk to my teacher. She is going to eat supper. So you have a couple of things going on here. Okay, so we have your verb and then going to. And this verb is our verb of to be and then going to, which is the verb go. So we have a verb here and we have a verb here. And in English, you need both of those. And then you have your infinitive, which is just your regular verb, non-conjugated. Remember in our last lesson, I said the infinitive is just like the resting word, right? To walk, to talk, to eat, right? So that's kind of what we see here. To walk, to talk, to eat. So it's in the infinitive. So you need 3 verbs. In Spanish, that is the same pattern. You still need your pronoun. You need to have the verb ir, which means to go. And then you need to have your infinitive verb. So what that means is if we had I'm going to walk my dog, we have yo voy a caminar. Mi perro. So we have I am going to walk my dog. So you always need to have your verb ir. You always need to have a. And you always need to have your infinitive verb. And what this is called is ir plus a plus infinitive. That's the formula. Ir plus a plus infinitive. So you're always conjugating ir, you always have your a, and you always have your infinitive verb. And you'll notice you don't conjugate it. You actually only conjugate the first verb. You never conjugate the second verb. This does play in when, on a side note, okay, if we said, me gusta caminar, I conjugate gusta, but I do not conjugate caminar. So FYI, the first verb is the one that you conjugate, and your second verb stays in the infinitive form, where we leave the ending on. Okay, so that was just kind of a side note. So you need to know a couple of things, the first of which is how to conjugate the verb ir, which means to go. This is the last irregular verb that is really common. Your other irregular verbs are tener, ser, and estar. And now ir. They're irregular because they don't follow a perfect pattern like the AR or ER or IR verbs. So we, of course, need our pronouns or our pronombres. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. And of course, you now need to conjugate your verb. And this is why it's irregular, because it's called ir, and yet it starts with a V. And it's voy, vas, va, vamos, van. So again, you'll notice we have the O, we have the S, we have nothing, we have the mos, and we have the N. That's about all I can say in terms of which are your irregular verbs. They kind of follow that pattern. So that's how you conjugate ir. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to write out all of my irregular verbs, and I would recommend you guys do that as well, because this is one way for you to remember. So we know tener is to have. Then we have yo tengo, tú tienes, él, ella, usted tiene, nosotros tenemos, ellos, ellas, ustedes tienen. And that's to have. And then we have ser, which remember is to be, and it's permanent, things you can't change, like the fact that you are tall, or a teacher, or short. Yo soy, tú eres, sorry. Él, ella, usted es, nosotros somos, ellos, ellas, ustedes son. And of course we have estar, which is to be, but temporary, which are your emotions, for example. There are other things you can use estar for, but that's just kind of one main one. Yo estoy, tú estás, él está, ella está, usted está, nosotros estamos, ellos están, ellas están, ustedes están. Notice the only one without an accent is nosotros and yo. That's often common. A lot of the other ones will always have accents, but yo and nosotros often won't. Okay, and our fourth irregular verb is ir, which means to go. Yo voy, tú vas, él va, ella va, usted va, nosotros vamos, ellos van, ellas van, ustedes van. So there are your irregular verbs, the 4 that you know. You guys should take a picture of that, write them down, practice writing them down. Okay. So once you've kind of mastered ir, then you just follow the pattern. And the pattern for the Futuro Uno, like I said before, is ir plus a plus infinitive or infinitivo. Okay. And then of course we have like your pronoun here and like the rest of the sentence here. Right? So if we wanted to say, I'm going to eat supper, we have yo voy a comer la cena. Supper. I am going to eat supper. Okay. Now you might be saying, well, technically the infinitive verb means to eat, and we've already got it, so why do we need the a? It's just part of this form. This form for Futuro Uno is the ir plus the a, so you need to have that a in there as well. Okay. So of course, having that on the side is maybe going to help you too if you put down voy, vas, va, vamos, van. Then you can kind of remember. So if our sentence was, we are going to walk to school, you could say, nosotros vamos a caminar a la escuela. Right? So we've got we are going to walk to school. And remember, things don't translate perfectly in English and Spanish, so does it always match up 100%? No. So that's why we've got things like and this, which means to, right? School, the school, right? It's not a perfect match because it's a different language. Now, if you were going to say we are going to go, you can say that as well. So you could say nosotros vamos a ir a la escuela. And now you're saying, we are going to go to school. So you could say that, we're going to go. Just like you can say that in English. Or if you wanted to say, I am going to be a teacher. Yo voy a ser una profesora or una maestra. I'm going to be a teacher. You could say that too. Or I'm going to have a house. Yo voy a tener una casa. Okay. So in your project, you need to be able to use the present tense, like I go to school, and the future uno, I am going to school. So you need to have both in your story, and your story then can have things happening in the present and in the future. And that is lesson 2.